Ready to go? Alright, so finally heading out for the first trip in over a year now. I'm going to Colorado. Driving the whole way, about 1,900 miles, so just now coming through Michigan on day 2, and I'm gonna wrap it up in Topeka, Kansas tonight, and then drive the last leg into Denver tomorrow. Feels good to be back on the road again. All right, second leg of the trip done, about 950 miles today. Cody's ready for outside of the car. First hotel that I've been in got it almost like 2 years now. I'd have felt more like a motel, but when you're traveling with a dog, you really don't have that many choices. For your first hotel, Cody? Come on. Yeah. I typically try to stay in Airbnbs when I'm traveling, but after the last night's place didn't have a hot shower, I wanted to stay somewhere where I knew things would all be working correctly. And it wasn't too pricey either. What do you think, Cody? You ready to go to Denver? I thought about stopping and maybe poking around Kansas City a little bit, but honestly at this point I just wanted to get myself to Colorado. And it seemed that just about the only thing interesting between Kansas City and Colorado were the windmills. It was cool to see quite a few of them in action along the drive, but after a while my eyes were burning. Nearly 1,800 miles later, and way too many questionable rest stops, I was finally in Colorado and ready for the adventure. Well, my first stop on the trip, I took a trip out to Garden of the Gods, but wasn't quite ready for the crowds. Thought on a Monday that I might have a little bit better of luck, and it might be a little bit of a learning curve here of dealing with crowds even on the weekdays. So the name Garden of the Gods was first given to the area by 2 surveyors who visited in 1859, and by the late 1800s, the property owner had given access to the public so that visitors could come and see the aptly named Garden of the Gods. After having a view of Pikes Peak from Garden of the Gods and seeing just how close it was, I decided to give the road a try and head up. I was already loving the fact that in Colorado, just a few mile drive separated you from desert-like conditions and alpine conditions. So this is just one of the quick little trails that you can get to driving up Pikes Peak. And this is day 2 of my Colorado trip, so I'm not pushing it too much as I give my body time to adjust to the altitude. We are at 11,700 feet, so not too high. Beautiful. Also already got a nosebleed. Very dry up here. I've been chugging water. Definitely going to be hydrating a little bit more before I head out tomorrow. I'm excited. After being in New York for so long this last year, just seeing new scenery is literally a breath of fresh air. Day 3 out here in Colorado, and something I do when I travel is I try to find somebody that's got some local insight, somebody that can help give me the lay of the land, because while I guide out east, Colorado terrain, that's new to me, as well as the conditions. So I'm actually here with somebody that's kind of similar to me, Tyler.
What's up? How is everybody doing?
Who's a guide out here in Colorado, and we're gonna go and hit Loveland Pass today. It's actually gonna be my first real hike out here, so I'm pretty excited. Without this being too much of a plug, anytime you're going somewhere and looking to get outdoors, it's really great to hire a guide. And a guide can be a lot of different things. It can be somebody that's helping you get up a mountain. It can be somebody that's helping you get pictures along the way, or it can just be somebody that is going along with you. Hiking alone does add a lot of risk. For me, I found Tyler online and sent him a message, and within 24 hours, we're now heading out here to do a hike. And it's definitely been fun to kind of swap some stories of different guiding adventures. And after the question of bears, question I often get is, where is the bathroom? And oftentimes, once you're past the trailhead, the bathroom is the woods, and you've either got to dig a hole and cover it up, or you've got to haul it back out. But Tyler's actually got a pretty funny, for lack of a better term, poop story.
All right, so this guest of mine, never really been climbing before, never really been hiking before. About 2 or 3 hours into the hike, she needed to use the restroom, and she goes, "Hey Tyler, do you mind if I just go in the woods real quick?" Go for it. She said, "Okay, well give me a minute or two." And I said, "Okay, cool." I'm waiting for her. 1 minute passes, 2 minute passes. I'm sitting going, what's going on? 5 minutes pass. I'm like, I hope this girl's okay. I kind of holler back, "Hey, you doing all right?" She goes, "Don't come back here, don't come back here." What happened? Well, I squatted down and it just kind of plopped out. I kind of looked at her and I was like, what? Pan over up this valley right here. There, we were climbing that mountain right up there. And she took a dump right on the side of the mountain. That mountain right there. We've all heard of yellow snow, don't eat yellow snow. But in this case, it was don't eat brown snow.
And there you have it. That's one of the things that doesn't get talked about quite as much when you're heading out to go on a hike. And so yeah, go before you go, or know before you go.
One of my favorite quotes from a movie is from a movie called Van Wilder. It's an older movie, and the basketball player goes, "First thing you always want to remember is take a pre-game dump." So always take a pre-game dump.
Words of wisdom right there.
Yep.
If there's somewhere I can pop in.
Loveland. So we're driving up Highway 6, or Loveland Pass, and you can see all the wind blowing off up there. So it's pretty windy up there. Luckily, we're kind of dressed for success. Do you have a coat?
Yeah, I've got a windbreaker and a puffy, and then an extra thermal just in case.
Puffy. That's always a positive. And before I-70 cut through the mountains, everybody would have to go over this pass, and it's a treacherous pass. And still today, if there's a semi-truck that's over 12 feet tall, they have to use this pass. And it's quite a sketchy pass. The tunnel goes straight through this mountain.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Alright, getting suited up here. Loveland Pass.
Dude, this thing is shivering. This thing is shivering. Oh, there we go. See, look, it's shivering.
Between the chilling temperatures and the crazy wind, our cameras were having a hard time operating, and the batteries were getting drained pretty quickly.
Well, this is so the craziest one I have ever been in. Woo! What are we dealing with here? We are dealing with about 10-degree weather, maybe even more than that, along with 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, about 40 to 50 sustained winds. It's as windy as I've seen it up here, and it's hard to actually stay warm, but we're troopers. It's gonna be hard for me to film lots more of this just because taking my hand off my main plug for even just 1 or 2 minutes, it gets cold. Anytime you're coming out here, always make sure to have an inner glove, an outer glove, backup gloves, backup hat, make sure everything's cinched down because as you can see, 50, 60 mile an hour wind, something blows away, we're not getting it back. Windiest I've ever seen it out here. Yeah. Alright, so we're on call again. These are probably. This is some of the craziest wind he's seen. This is Colorado native. He's been hiking here for a long time. And honestly, a little bit of my clothing got wet and started to freeze. I'm not trying to get any frostbite out here today. We can almost Superman this stuff right now. Well, yeah, that wind ended up being just a little too much. Yeah, temperature was saying about 7 degrees, so the wind chill probably into the negative 20 to 30. Oh, easy. And, but yeah, what a little intro. Dude, that was some of the craziest wind I've ever seen. I've been living in Colorado my whole life, and I've been hiking here my whole life. We literally almost got blown off the side of the peak, and it was painful. We almost did it, but in the end, safety is first for sure. Made a good call to get back to the car, be safe. Yeah, that's one of the things I always preach, that people are like, what's in a skill that's really important, and that's knowing when to turn back, knowing when to turn around. Whenever you're in doubt, always turn around and live to fight another day instead of being on the news as another stupid statistic. So these mountains aren't going anywhere, so there's always that another 10 to come. Thank you.
Gonna be room? We can stick one bundle up here. So getting ready to go into Rocky Mountain National Park for the first time. We're actually gonna be camping out at Moraine Lake. So it's April 1st. If you're wondering what weather looks like, one, it can change at any time, but it's gonna start dropping pretty quick now as it gets late here. We'll see how our camping setup is gonna do. We are car camping, not backcountry camping or anything. It was a chilly morning in the 30s, but you really couldn't beat that sunrise or getting to join some elk that were visible from the side of the road. This was shot with a 200mm lens from quite a distance. Always remember to give elk plenty of room, as they can be territorial and aggressive on rare occasions.
Alright,
Alright, so just getting started here on the Glacier Gorge Trail. Let's see if we can make it to Sky Pond. A little windy, but pleasant so far. Getting our micro spikes on here.
Oh, damn it.
Bringing the snowshoes was quickly realized as a dumb mistake. They weren't needed for any part of the hike. I originally wasn't sure what I'd be getting into, but everything was packed down and they were just extra weight. It's beautiful. Working our way up to the loch. Whew. I'm pooped. I was really feeling the weight by that point, as well as the little bit of altitude adjustment that I still had left to do. While it didn't play a huge role, you could definitely feel that the air was thinner and you had to breathe heavier than you normally would. Due to all that extra weight, as well as some blisters, we decided to turn around once we got to the loch. And that was out to the loch via the Glacier Gorge.
And we took a wrong turn in the very beginning. Brian's fault completely.
Oh yeah, and yeah, the hiking guide, aka me, took a wrong turn in the beginning. I could just call that the 1 mile warm up. You're welcome. I got you better prepared for the hike. But no, things aren't very well marked out here. They went about 60 feet off the right trail. We went about a mile. Oh yeah, dude. Feel good. A little bit of experimenting here. Turns out frozen pizza face down in a cast iron skillet isn't too bad. Next up on the menu was cast iron chicken over ramen noodles. Third day out in the Rockies. Now we're heading up to do the Twin Sisters Peak. Maybe about 7.5, 8 miles. About 2,500 feet of gain. We'll see. This trail actually isn't inside the national park gates, but it is technically part of the national park. So if you do come and do this one, you need to make sure that you get your pass and hang it in your dashboard. A lot quieter than where we were at yesterday, but so far we've seen one other person a little over a mile in here. About 3.2 miles in so far. Still got a good bit to go. But still nothing technical like what you would see in the Catskills or the Adirondacks. All just a nicely packed mountain. We are out of the tree line now, and working our way. Well, Spencer beat me by a good bit up, but that's where we're headed. What up? Well, we made All right, that was the Twin Sisters, a little over 4 miles up. Nothing too difficult until you get to some of the scrambling. Views beautiful, 360, and not too windy up here. Time to head down though. So today doing the Flatirons. It's a quick trail, but pretty cool geological feature just outside of Boulder, about a little over an hour from Denver, and dog friendly. So Cody has come along. Located just outside of Boulder, Colorado, the Flatirons are sandstone rock formations that were tilted downwards thanks to fault line collisions in the crust of the earth. There are 5 Flatirons here in the Chautaqua Park, but they can be found in other areas of the world. And the name Flatirons came from the way that the jutting rock formations resembled a flat iron used to iron clothing and other garments. But some have theories that the Flatirons were named in resemblance to the Flatiron Building in New York City. Whatever the origin of the name, it's definitely fitting as you walk through the different layers of the rock and see the way and see all of the different angles and formations, many of which are popular. It's been a great hike so far. A little busy, even for a Monday, but as expected, look at a place as beautiful as this. Heading up to the first and second Flatirons. When I passed certain parts of the trail later on in the day, I saw many climbers heading up, but having Cody with me definitely wasn't a day to try to climb it. So after that wind was so crazy the last time we tried to come up here.
All right, so we are calling it. These are probably...
I came back and decided to give it another go, and much more pleasant today. Being up there and feeling so close to the mountains was something that just is tough to put into words. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little bit of a montage of my day. And just these few short stints up in alpine conditions taught me a good bit about both myself and the gear that I was using, as well as things that I should bring the next time I made a go at it. There's a bit of weather coming in that way and that way, and I'm out solo today, so probably gonna call it soon. All right, so I'm now on my way down to Sand Dunes National Park. My buddy's dog sitting my dog Cody for 2 days, hoping that even with getting there later in the day, it being a Wednesday, that I won't have a problem getting a campsite. But we'll see, about halfway there. Sand Dunes National Park, and campground is full. So now I'm going back to what looked like a private campground that I saw. Looks like we are in Loch. Well, I've got camp all set up, found a spot that was pretty open just outside the park, probably like 3 or 4 miles, only $25 a night. There's actually no fires right now, so call it a night. Tomorrow, Great Sand Dunes National Park. So today we are out at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. It feels like I'm in like a Saharan desert or something. So this is a pretty cool place because it's formed by water that's flowing down off the mountains behind us. There's a creek over there and a creek on the other side of the dunes. And that carries that sand and deposits it here. And then the winds that you're hearing right now pick up that sand and blow it back up the mountain and keep that cycle going. Types of sand dunes. So if you're interested in learning more about what you're seeing here, I'd suggest going to the National Park website where they've got a good bit of detail. Without knowing the specific type of dune though, it's pretty cool to know that some of them go up as high as 700 feet. And while the smaller ones are often changing shape, the bigger ones have remained fairly constant over the last 100 or so years. It was quite a workout walking in the soft sand of the dunes. You can see just how much my feet are sinking in. Needless to say, the incredible variety I'd been finding in this state never ceased to amaze me throughout the trip. Beyond, feeling like I'm in the Sahara here. And 2 days ago, felt like I was in something in Alaska, up on top of 12,000 feet, and in Red Rock, what felt like the Grand Canyon, out of the Flatirons. It's just so diverse. It's incredible. I probably had about a pound of sand in each of my boots after just a few hours out on the dunes. Here doing the Medano Pass Primitive Road. I've just got an all-wheel drive with all-season tires on. If you're gonna do this, make sure you've had just a little bit of off-road experience and know when to turn traction control off, like when you're going through deeper sand, and watch for larger rocks and stuff, because most of your passenger cars are not gonna have skid plates or anything like that. Well, that's about as far as I can go because it's four-wheel drive only. All-wheel drive doesn't count. You can even see in the picture, it is a Jeep. The dunes were a great stopover in between Denver and heading to the Rio Grande National Forest, and you could see a pretty good amount of the park in just a day or two. Tonight's campsite. Probably one of my favorite campsites that I've ever been to. So today I woke up in Creede, Colorado. It's this little mining town, one gas station, no stoplights, and taking this mining road. It's called Bachelor Road, and should take up to some pretty nice views. Let's go check it out. The full loop is about 17 miles, but at this time of year there was still snow blocking you from completing the whole loop. So once I had gotten about halfway through, turned around. Once I got about halfway through, I turned around and set out for some aimless exploring. It seemed that every few miles that I drove around the Creede area, I found another cool spot to pull over and take in the scenery. Couldn't find the name of what looked to be perhaps a granite quarry a little bit off the road on my way back, but it was pretty cool to take a closer look at. So if you know what this is, let me know in the comments below. After driving as far as I could up the Bachelor Loop Road in the morning, I figured I would try from the other end. This route drives along the East Willow Creek and through the steep canyon walls on either side. It's starting to feel a little bit sketchy. There's a lot of rocks in the road, as well as just these big rock slides that are kind of just freaking me out. Because you can see up here that the road is littered with rocks already. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go a little bit further and then call it a day, at least on this road, because I'm not trying to have a rock go through my car. We also spent a little bit of time checking out the Commodore mine. It was originally active up until the 1890s when they were mining for silver, but when the price of silver plummeted, it later transitioned to mining things such as zinc, lead, and copper for the war efforts. It was finally closed down in 1976 though, but remains a historic site. The loop takes you through a number of ghost towns that were once booming when the mine towns were active in the 1890s. Though the population of Creede now just sits at about 250, the towns once were home to over 10,000 inhabitants. And yeah, I would not be wanting to go into there for any reason, so hats off to the miners that put up with the conditions there. Wild. Spent the last day just relaxing at the campsite. It was such a pristine spot that it was a tough place to leave too. Almost didn't want to head on for the next leg of the trip, but I was excited for what else there was to see. So today I'm headed out to the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. Coming from the Rio Grande National Forest, you're going to be driving on State Route 149. That takes you right up through the beautiful San Juan Mountains. The route from there follows various roads winding through the canyons along the creeks and rivers. And it eventually takes you by the Blue Mesa Reservoir, which is actually Colorado's largest body of water. It was created when the Gunnison River was dammed up. to cap off another day out here in Colorado. Once again, the park is in off season, so there's no entry fee, there's no fee to camp, and there's hardly anybody here. Now, a lot of it is closed, but I like seeing some of parks with no people in it versus all of them well crowded. So I might actually have the park to myself right now because a lot of it is blocked off and closed down because it's winter, and I didn't see any other cars. Well, one other, but they were heading out. Wraps up the Colorado part of the trip. I'm heading north now. And gonna check out Badlands National Park, and we're gonna kind of camp our way back across America. It was a phenomenal, I think it was like 17 days, so well, I'm a little tired and looking forward to getting home. I'm also excited to see some more of America that I haven't seen yet. Wasn't much interesting to see in western Nebraska, other than a car henge built in stunning scale compared to the actual Stonehenge in England. This spot was quirky, but just about the only thing along the way to South Dakota. Unpaved road. I camped out at night in Badlands National Park and spent a little bit of the next morning exploring. Definitely a spot that I want to come back to another time. And Cody was a little bit wary of her bigger four-legged neighbors. Made a stop here at Warren Dunes State Park in Michigan. A little bit off of the most direct route back, but I've been taking a little bit more scenic, and it's a nice stop.